Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Quack. All right. Today, we are actually working for the driving school, so I need to log in. So I actually asked Cayen about that last night. But what he said was the standard is about 5 minutes of lead before you start the show, so that gives everybody time to join. All right, that. All right. Right. Well, that was intentional. As much as I love that, one of the things that was on the chat was you're right up there at the very top. You've got this one post that said "Death to the right wingers" or "Death to the righties." That's what it was, and I was like, "That's the one that everybody reads." So maybe I should do something about that. That was your first 30-day ban. We enshrined it in our opening credits. Oh gosh. Oh, that's funny. Anyway. Yeah, I figured I would kill the pond for two reasons, not the least of which was that, that one obviously, but the other reason that I decided to kill the pond was because I didn't want to have to go through and figure out it was hard enough to find a section of video that looked representative without having a section of video that was representative and then having to figure out whether the text was appropriate or not, because sometimes we roll right off whatever. Yeah, I know. Well, I think it'll happen more. If my theory on how the social media works is correct, then you will find yourself in jail more and more often. Because what I think happens, this is my ongoing theory, I think what happens is that as you go on and on and on about these things, I think that what happens is the more times you are dinged, the more times you wear down the resistance of the system. Like, I've been able to say quite a few things that I have seen other friends of mine get thrown in jail for, and I don't get thrown in jail for it. And it's because I haven't been dinged yet. My initial ding hasn't occurred. I haven't been thrown in Facebook jail yet. But when it happens, then the sensitivity will change and I will get thrown in jail again more often and stuff, So there's that. All right. Now we've done this, and what we're going to do is the next piece, which is center all of that. Okay, see you in 2 minutes or so. All right. Now that we've done this, I'm actually logged in at this point in time, so I'm going to start building back all of the pieces that we had before. Now I've got a 2-lane. I've got a 2-lane with a shared turn lane, and I've got an entire freeway width, which is useful because now I can actually do freeways if I need to for any reason. And actually, we've got quite a bit of a freeway here going on with 3 lanes with 1 ending, and we've got a breakdown lane on either side, which actually is the correct width for a normal interstate. It's interesting. I keep thinking about something Bob had said yesterday, because Bob was commenting on lights in Japan being called blue. So a light turns blue. They'll say, "Aoi narimasu." It's turned blue. Like, so they don't say the light turned green. They say the light turned blue. But the light is actually still green. It's the same green as it is here in America. It's not like they have blue lights there. But what I was saying to Bob was that, religiously speaking, green is a religious color. And so they wouldn't use that for the lights because it's a religious color. Well, that's okay. But then you're saying things that are kind of confusing to people, because it took me a while to figure out why they were telling me that the light was blue. I didn't know what in the world they were talking about. But now I know. And that's okay, and that's not a problem. And he was like, I wonder how many people still feel like, those things are true. And I was like, yeah. So it wasn't like we still, like in Japan, do they ban the color green from things? And nah. But we have to remember that cars were invented 120 years ago. So, like, 120 years ago, Japan was a different place. Before World War II, everything in Japan was completely different. They were still rolling out of the Meiji Restoration and things like that, as far as like cultural. They didn't start becoming like our culture until after World War II. And by then, cars had been established, and street lights had been established, and signs had been established, and everything had been established. And so the culture changed, and the tradition holds. But I was thinking about that the same way as freeways. We call these freeways. And yeah, I mean, yes, they are free, But like nobody thinks of it like, oh, we don't pay for this road as opposed to all the other roads. Hi, back. I'm Dad. Oh, I can't help myself. It's compulsive. Speedy lanes. That's. I did just realize though that our terminating lane is the fast lane on this one, isn't it? No. It's the slow lane. I keep making all my roads Japanese for reasons, and actually have little or no reason for making my roads Japanese at all. And I just have issues, guys. I have issues. I'm so sorry. I secretly, or not so secretly, wish to return to Japan. You know, as I say, I don't think it's any secret. There's a soul that disagrees with this plan, thinks that I'm secretly wanting that. All right, there we go. I was say, is there anyone out there that doesn't believe that I want to go back to Japan? I mean, I know it'll come as a shock to you. Alrighty. Now, if I did my math right yesterday, and that's absolutely zero guarantee. That's all right. I'll drop you off. I'm okay with that. I actually want to go to Okinawa too. Okinawan food's good. Just saying. I'm not going to knock that one. I like Okinawan food. All right. Now, one of the things we're going to do is space stuff out, I think. Space. Because this really can take up more. All right, now that I've gotten this to whatever 6 billion pixels, I can give. There's no easement on either side of the freeways, but there is easement on 2-lane roads, or 2 lanes of road. So. Oh, good. That's a plus.
My system for figuring out if she's eating or not is failing if George is in there.
Right. I mean, like, doesn't help any. So we've been trying to isolate Dove because she's got something's going on with her where she is having a real hard time standing. She's falling over a lot and things like that, and it's not a good sign, although I am of the theory she might just have an ear infection. But whatever's the story, she can make about 4 or 5 steps without literally falling over. That's about all she does. She steps, and then she falls right over on her side. I mean, like, hard fall. Like, so we're trying to keep her in our room and away from George, who thinks that she is the most fun game that he has ever experienced in his life and likes to chase her all the time. Well, that's, of course, really, really hard for her to do right now, being chased around and having someone run after you. But George doesn't understand that. George is a cat. So part of the problem we have is for
Have a good day.
you too. Brent says hi.
Hi.
So, George is a cat, and George does what George does. And so, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm doing it again. I really am stuck with my head thinking that oh, my head really, really wants these to be Japanese roads. Anyway, so I used to have a screen door that I put on our bedroom, and it was to stop our previous cat, Roman, who also liked to chase Dove through the house. And I had that until we got George, and George was a little teeny kitten, so we were hoping that as a kitten, George wouldn't chase Dove, or at least Dove would assert dominance. And Dove didn't, and George now chases her just like Roman did. And so we have to protect Dove again, and of course that's easier said than done. So, it's a thing. We're having problems. So, anyway, therein is our problem today. Ooh. And of course, as soon as I put that screen door up, all George can do, it's everything in his power. He's got to get into the room. And he's tried to tear up the door. He's tried to tear up the screen. And he gets in there, eats Dove's food, drinks Dove's water, and then chases Dove, who promptly falls over because she can't keep herself standing. And so, it's like he doesn't know. He just thinks it's a game. He thinks this is a game that she's playing. Because when he catches her, he lets her go. I mean, like, right away. He doesn't want to actually hurt her. He just can't stand, he can't stand it when something is moving. And, and so he's doing that. And it's like, George, please, just stop. Yeah, he's just playing tag, but she hisses at him and she yells at him and all kinds of stuff. And she doesn't growl because she was feral. And so the problem is George has never been out in the streets. He was a kitten and he was in the shelter. He was born in the shelter. And we had dibs on him from the get-go. And as soon as he was old enough to leave his mom, we brought him home and he's been here. He's never been outside. You know what I mean? Like, George has lived his entire life inside this house. He doesn't know, but Dove was a rescue cat. And so she lived on the streets. So she's got the entire hierarchy of a big tomcat chasing her. That's a terrifying experience for her. For George, this is fun, For Dove, this is life and death. And so this has become a real problem because every cat we've had gets back to, hey, she's running. I'm going to run after her. And he does a lot of things, like he'll 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 charge her. He'll like bleh, and then he'll back up and then bleh, like that to see if she'll bolt. Because when she bolts, then he gets to chase her. And of course, she's so scared of everything that just going bleh, makes her go wah and run off. And then he promptly chases her through the house. But right now, if he chases her, she will collapse and fall over and probably hit her head on something. But he's going to hurt her. And we can't seem to keep him from opening the door to the bedroom. Dove is perfectly content living in our bedroom for the rest of her life. She does not need anything. She doesn't want anything. She just wants people to leave her alone. And George, just like Roman, cannot leave her alone. They just can't. And it's so frustrating. It's like, George, just leave her alone, please. All right, we're going to do a few things here. We're going to duplicate this layer. We're going to duplicate this layer. On this set, I'm going to remove this guy because he's fine. He's perfect the way he is. You're perfect the way you are. Right. And we're going to remove the freeway because we don't need it either. And then we're going to take this. We're going to duplicate it and rotate it. Oh man. This is when I learned that there is an awful lot of stuff going on in here. Sometimes I find some of these things so amazingly interesting how well everything fits. Like the double yellow is the internal yellow straight line doubled. But if you take the road and flip it 180 degrees, you get the exact perfect double yellow line. And I find that fascinating. I'm like, huh. I mean, I'm sure that's exactly what they were thinking because graphic artists were involved somewhere on the line. Right? But it's still kind of like, huh, cool. And we can merge all of this together just to make one big happy double yellow, which has all of this extra junk that doesn't really need to be there. All this extra stuff I've added to it. And all this extra road that's all over this. I don't know if I care enough about this stuff, but at least that big chunk over there. All right. All right. So I went through like 20 different steps to do the thing that really shouldn't have been 20 different steps. So there's that. Because really what we should have done, if we had been smart, was select just the road, hit cut, and then paste, and that would have put just the road back in. And that's 2 steps. Instead of what I did do, which was move the thing around all the time and cut all the other pieces out. Sometimes I just don't think these things through, but that's okay. And I'll show you what we're doing here. What I mean by that is you take all and then hit Control X, then Control V, and that makes that, and then you can just kill that line right there, and you deselect it. And no matter what now, this is just what was on the screen. And I don't know why I don't do these things. I've known that trick since the 90s in Photoshop, and I still don't remember to do it all the time. You'd think I'd live and learn, but clearly I don't. There's that. Yeah, no? Yeah, no. It's all right. All right. The next thing we need to do is we're at 3,600 width-wise. That's 1,800 is the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a marker down. Add a new layer. And then I'm going to put a marker down at 1,800. And that's the center of this. And the reason I want to do that is to make sure no matter what happens, these guys are all absolutely centered through the center line. That way, I can have it this way or this way. Either way will work just fine, right? So we're going to call, and this is now when I'm going to start naming things. So this is 2-lane. It's a 4-lane. 4-lane. 2-way. Okay. We'll actually have to go both directions on this. So 1,600 on this one is going to be... Try here enough. That wasn't 1,600, it's 1,800. That's all right. 1,800. It's right there. So that's the center of both sides. So when we do the intersections, we want them lined up so that they're perfectly lined up here so that they will all fit. If we do that, then all of these tiles will fit in any direction we want as long as there's no curves. And it'll become the Lego tiles, those awesome city Lego tiles that I just love so much. I absolutely adore Lego tiles. All right. Whatever. All right. Now bringing these guys back online, we're going to just cut them out at this point and try to get things squared away. The freeway is pretty straight up, right? So if we just take the freeway, if we take the freeway, we take the Ventura Freeway to and whatever. Oh God. And if we do that and that, and then we just end up with I hate things. I hate people. All right. Taking the freeway out, we will copy and paste it. And then we'll do the same thing with its color or with its guides up here. We'll copy those and paste those. And we turn that and that off. We say Control Shift E. Ooh, and we turn off its guides too. Then we say Control Shift E. Turn the guides back on. And now what we need to do is say enter. Right. And this is a little harder for me to do. In order for me to get this straight, I do this. And that allows me to see the square that indicates the centroid of the freeway. And the question really is, I don't know if I've got enough space to do both sides. Maybe I do. Let's find out, right? Let's copy and paste it. We'll put one side here. We might have enough. Let's see. Select, take you, go the other way. Oh, yeah, we do. It looks like we do. Just barely, but we do. And maybe. You know, like let's cut down the breakdown lane just a hair here because we've got to be able to put a barrier in here, right? Because we got to put a retaining wall in the middle. Not a big one, but we do need to be able to put a retaining wall in here. There we go. Now we have an interstate that should be lined up properly, at least hopefully. Then I can just put the barrier in between these two and we'll be okay. The only thing is I'm noticing that we are not centered on this side at all, which does mean that this needs to be like here, which makes me wonder what the heck is going on over here. There's that. Okay. This one's easy. That one's not so easy if you don't turn off your guides. I'll be right back. I'm gonna check to make sure. Since George is not in the other room, okay. Now we're back. We're back. And we have the secret to the air shield. All right, shared turn lane complete. And then we need to do just the normal 2-lane without any shared turn lanes. Oh, new higher pay award. Ew. That's not right. Not right. I'm like, what? I did the colors wrong. You are allowed to cross the solid white on a 2-lane road. I mean, come on, guys. There we go. All right, now that we've done that, now we have all of our base streets down. There we go. Now we can start doing stuff like this. And interestingly, it's perfect, isn't it? Look at that. Almost like we planned it. Almost like we planned it. Yeah, he actually joined my company. So he will now be part of the same company doing this same thing with kids and everything. So yeah, he's got to sat in one of my classes. He got to prove that I actually really work and do stuff. Like I'm a real person. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the jobs that I do, I'm like, nobody knows that I do these things. And so it's like, I don't know what aspect of imposter syndrome that is. But like, he'll be doing classroom as well. I don't know what weird aspect of imposter syndrome that is being, but whatever is the story, it is a funny and bizarre version of imposter syndrome that makes me go, I don't know why I don't really exist. I'm very proud of being a teacher. I'm very proud of actually doing the job. Oh, now you're here, George. Is this because you can't get into the room? Is why you're here? Yeah, why you're here, you little goofball? He's like, no, I'm here to mess up everything. Can I mess up stuff? Can I mess up stuff? I'm a floof. Can I mess up stuff? How are people supposed to know what my butt's doing if I don't show it to them? I think we're both kind of not able to do the in-car stuff anymore. I think we're both kind of past that. There you go. You're proud that I'm proud. That works. I'm a floof. I'm a floof. Okay. There we go. That's our floof scratching for right now, okay? I'm not done with floof scratching. It was interesting. We were talking about this last night. The difference between a capitalistic meritocracy and a meritocracy capitalism. We think, yeah, all you guys get is cat butt. We always believe that America and all of these capitalisms are actually meritocracy capitalisms. And they're not, they're capitalistic meritocracies. Your merit is evaluated by how much money you have, not by what you do, because if that were the case, then teachers would be the highest paying people in the planet, because helping, or teachers, firefighters, police, those would be the highest paying people, highest paid people in our society. But it's not that the highest paid people are people who handle money. So anybody who handles money is the highest paid person in our society. George, I love you a whole lot, but this back and forth thing isn't gonna work. Okay, we can't do back and forth. There we go. I do like how you march back and forth. You just sit here and march in place whenever we do this. You're like, wee. But it's the difference between a capitalistic meritocracy and a meritocracy. Nope, that's not right. No, man. Okay. I love you. You are my favorite cat next to Dove. Yeah, since we're clearly going to be at a George break. Yeah. That's kind of George. George, I really do love you, but you really are doing the I'm knocking everything over so I can get stitches. No, don't do it. So tell me about your new cookbook. No, Oh, Heroes Feast, the official D&D cookbook, how to cook your dungeon master. I mean, I'm just saying. Oh no, but now you're over on YouTube, which I'm sure will make like this part of the show really interesting for the YouTubers. Because it'll be like, okay. That wasn't what I wanted to do. Try this again. There we go. Because intersections just become this mess after a while. I mean, there's no high or low on it. You got to remember, we will be at ground level on all of these, so I want to make sure that we've got this looking pretty decent from the ground level. You make the right turns look like right turns. Kind of having fun with this, but probably having a little too much fun, so I might have to lay off here in a minute. All right. All right. Check our measurements here. 3 meters by 1 meter for our crosswalks. We're gonna build ourselves some crosswalkian awesomeness. One meter is going to be from 1900 to 2000. So here, 1 meter wide. You made that the wrong color. Okay. No, that's 10 meters. I think I've gotten confused as to what I'm doing. What are you doing, Guy? Does anybody know? No. All right. Let's try this again. $1,900. No, just, you know what? Start over. We're better off just starting all over. It's 100 pixels. We want. Right? We only want 1900. Two. And this guy is going to be to 2000. Pork. Great. And then we want this to be to 1910. No? No. Really? No. And not right. I messed this up somehow. Somehow we've made a mess of this. 3 meters by 1 meter. It's really straightforward. It's going to be the same length as that, oddly. So it's whatever that is. But you know what? Let's just take that. Man, crosswalks take up a lot of space. It's kind of wild. I never really would have thought that. It's fascinating doing this way because it is entirely astonishing to me on how big things are in real life. Once you've measured them all out and double checked them, because we have to double check everything, right? Then not it. It's because in the real world, we don't put crosswalks across these little 2-lane streets. We barely even mark them. I mean, look at Zephyr, right? There's no crosswalk here. There's no striping. This is the 11-meter road, right? And so in theory, this is our 11-meter road here as well. Yes, this is 11 meters. Should be 7, right? Why are we having a problem with this? We're having a problem with this because I think I have measured incorrectly for a single lane road. And I think that what's happening is that single lane roads are 11 meters wide. And in real life, even 4 lanes are 13 and a half. So they give a lot of room because there's parking on either side. And that's what we're not showing here. That's what we're not depicting properly, is parking. Like, if we were to find just a normal 2-lane, what would it look like? 66 is a normal 2-lane. And I'm looking over here and I see actually right here, J Street has 66th and J has crosswalks both directions. This is a good example of these roads being the right way. Blue skies. Blue skies shining on me. Nothing but blue skies do I see. Yeah. Bluebirds singing a song. This guy here is like that'd be so frustrating. He'd be like, oh, I gotta go this way. Oh, like his straight into the, well, I guess it's straight into the, yeah, the major reason I'm not pulling up Topeka, though, is because I don't know my way around Topeka, so I wouldn't be able to just suddenly go to an intersection. I'd have to do the typing it in over here. Whereas this, I'm like, I know where 66th and J is, so I can just snap over there because I know this whole area like the back of my hand. What? Where'd that come from? So we're getting blue skies outside. Like, I actually see blue, which is great because I think that that's pretty much all we're going to get is today, this blue sky. And then after that, screw you. It's minus 2 degrees Celsius outside. Yeah. I'm wondering if I can find a... Because all of these have parking lanes. And Pierce has got interesting markings there. Look at that. Looking at Pierce, you've got these guide lanes that are taking you across now. So our laws have changed. We used to have it where if you were making a right-hand turn, you'd come up to here and you'd make your right-hand turn, not crossing into the bike lane. But then what happened here was he made a change in the way that we do our laws now, and you cross bike lane to make this right turn, which is what this indication is trying to show you, which I find interesting. Be nomads. Fine, be nomads. Okay. third. I feel like I'm gonna have to go down quite a ways before we start getting into Grandview. Going down to Old Town. There we go. That's more like the trouble I expected. Right, because this is a 2-lane, but oof, a tight parking lane. It's only on one side of the street too. If you're gonna talk about anything, go into Old Town Arvada. That's certainly where things get unpleasantly crowded and weird all the time. Like, look at this. Woo! People are like, no, we're not gonna get our yard. No, but we want to park. There we go. We've got stop bars. We've got crosswalks. Good morning, Patsy. How are you doing this morning? This looks like much more of an interesting intersection for me. Coming up on the station here, which is over this track bridge, or over the bridge, just the other side of the bridge. Either way, Grandview is a great example of a 2-lane that doesn't have parking lanes, really. Because it has Arvada parking lanes, by which I mean that they have parking lanes, but only if you're very adventurous. I too am functioning within normal parameters. Thank you, Doctor. If you're going to make a Star Trek quote, I'm going to go with this. All right. How updated are we? We're not updated enough to have put in the stuff there, just that. That's cool. During COVID, they blocked all of this Grandview and Old Wadsworth through here and made it so that you couldn't pass through here. But then they made it permanent after COVID. So now you can only pass through on 57th. And when you come up on Old Wadsworth now, you must make a left turn here at this point. And there's no... all of these barricades became permanent barricades, and then they put in all of the stuff, and this became a pedestrian mall all through here, which is awesome. I've got little dinosaurs here and stuff like that. It was cool. So I also don't feel like I'm getting what I'm looking for here, because I feel like it's actually this 3-lane that I'm kind of looking at. Beaming in. All of this now is an apartment complex. This whole area right now. Now put an apartment complex in there. They've torn this, which used to be the park and ride, because the park and ride's now here. They've torn all this up, and they're going to put a Marriott in there, and I'm not sure if I like that at all. Right? I am functioning within normal parameters. We are. I'm working on my roads and trying to get my roads and intersections to be actually accurate instead of being close. And like I took measurements of all of these roads here. These are all just various roads around town that I took measurements of. And like I took measurements of 44th and Zephyr because Zephyr is a standard kind of road that doesn't have any markings or anything like that. Whereas 44th is a 4-lane. So I measured that and everything like that. And I discovered that even these unmarked side streets are 11 meters. And then whenever I started putting this together, this guy's not 11 meters wide. So now we're having a new problem of what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong on this, right? So here I'm trying to measure from here to here to see what's going on to give me the road, because this is coming out with a crosswalk. And that's not the size it should be. It shouldn't be that big. So I'm like, So now I'm back over here in Arvada because Old Town is notoriously entertaining for having very narrow roads because it's Old Town, right? Arvada, for those of you who really need to know, this is Old Town Arvada right here. This part of Arvada was built around the old flour mill here and the train station, right? This was a fueling station for trains. So these tracks right here date back to 1860, 18 something like that, getting really, really close to that era. These are the 1800s tracks that went through this part of Old Town, and Grandview was the first street, and Wadsworth was the first street. Since then, they've done all these modifications. Wadsworth is no longer used. We use Wadsworth Bypass, which is this right here, and it's a bigger street and stuff like that. But the Old Town still has all of the old little teeny streets that you'll run into that are much more like, Yarrow here, and Yukon's relatively large, but that's because it's right near the Army Navy surplus store. So I'm just looking around trying to figure out what's going on and stuff. So Ralston, this Ralston Road here, which they've got torn up here, but it's getting better now. Ralston is named after the guy who found gold here. So Ralston was the man who struck gold in Arvada. And the funniest part about this whole thing is how even local stuff gets all screwed up. When I was a kid, all of us, this is just Google. All of us in school here in Arvada knew that Arvada was the first place to strike gold in Colorado. But the official line said that gold was struck first in Golden, coming down the river that came down from the canyon. And the truth is that Ralston found gold first here in Arvada. And it was everybody here in the city knew that. We all knew that. All the Arvadans knew that. And so, like our teachers would be like, okay, just so you guys know, the textbook says that gold was struck in Golden first, but it really was struck here. Just accept it and move on. And then like in the 90s or something, like the Colorado History Museum was like, you know what we just found out? We found out that gold was actually struck first in Arvada. And all of us Arvadans were like, you're just now figuring this out. Really? Because like we've lived here all of our lives and knew that. So it's funny. It's just one of those things. It's like even the local histories get kind of convoluted and twisted. Sometimes you're like, what? What I do think is interesting is even in the 80s, Colorado history was full of the history of the natives that were here too. Like, it wasn't as I see other areas around here where, other parts of the nation where like the natives are just gone. There's no real track of it. Well, yes, but like history gets kind of convoluted because you're right. That's what Golden was, a field. the wheat fields that were out there. But they don't like to go with that one now because they like to remember that they were striking gold because that was the start of the gold rush, right? But it is interesting. I remember like learning about George Bent and Bent's Fort and all of those things where the trading happened with all of the local natives and things like that, and all of that part of history, because George Bent was William Bent, who started the whole thing. William Bent married a local Ute. Ute? Was she Ute or was she Lakota? She was Ute. I think she was Ute. So he married her, and she became Owl Woman, which is like this part of our history. It was important because she was actually like this negotiator that kept working with the incoming Europeans versus the locals who had already established established territory, and kind of making that easier and gentler on things. And it was just kind of a fascinating thing. All of this stuff is kind of just always fascinating to me. That was part of our history. We had all of this stuff that was all involving the natives here, and how much of an impact the natives have on Colorado. No, thanks. I guess if I want my chair, I'm not getting my chair back, am I, George? I didn't think so. George has now curled up on my stool over there and has gone to sleep. This is the nature of things. Anyway, it's interesting though when you look at like Denver, right, in its entirety. Here's the Denver metro area, all the way through here. There's the airport, talk about all these things that are here, and you come back into just where Old Town is. Right? You think about the scale of how much we've grown. I mean, this group, this little area right here, this was all that was out here at one point in time. Just this little group. Right around the mill and the station, the old station. Which is cool because now they've added a passenger line station right here. So the Old Town Arvada passenger line station is literally just across the way from the original refueling station for the tracks. And in fact, these two tracks are shared between the light rail and the regular rail, normal gauge. Kind of cool. I just think it's cool. I also have no idea what I'm doing here. I mean, should I just leave these the way they are? Because this is going to require me to redo the the 2 lanes. The problem is I don't have an absolute measurement device over here. Yeah, I make the joke all the time that the light rail is not in fact light. It's a misnomer. It still weighs in at 200 tons. Just saying. Patsy says hi, and you don't care. Sorry, Patsy, he does not care. He wishes to sleep now. He spent all morning harassing my other cat, so he's exhausted. It's been a rough day. He's not allowed to get into the bedroom, and that's really making him mad. And so he wants to get into the bedroom because our other cat is ill. So since he has a penchant for chasing her, he has been banned. pest. Yes, I know. But that ruins the joke. I'm just saying. I do too. We're worried about her. She's about 2 days ago, she started falling over a lot. Like she'd take 3 or 4 steps and then fall completely over on her side. Like hard fall, like not a light fall. Like she'd fall completely over. And she's acting very much like she has no balance. And I mean, she's behaving like she doesn't have any balance. And I've been thinking she's got some kind of problem with her vestibular system. We took her to the vet, and the vet drew blood, and everything was okay. She seemed all right. But clearly, even the vet could notice that she could not walk 3 feet without falling over completely. So she's 15. So we, this. I'm hoping this isn't the end of it all, but Dove is 15, and there's not much we can do about the fact that sometimes 15-year-old cats just don't make it. Tis the nature of the beast. One, two, three, four, 5. So we're on watch with her, with Dove right now, in hopes that she gets better. I'm hoping it's just something simple like an ear infection. She has always been throwy uppy. She's always thrown up a lot. And so I'm hoping that she just has problems with her ear all the time and has always had problems with her ear. And we just didn't know because she was who she was. So, or she is who she is. I guess we shouldn't talk about her like she's gone. 3, 4, 5. She's a rescue cat, so she's not the friendliest of creatures. Yeah. And like I was saying at the beginning of the show, the biggest problem we've got is that we got George from the shelter, and he was born in the shelter. And Dove is a rescue cat. So George chases Dove all the time, not being aware that Dove sees this as a threat to her life. And George just sees this as a fun game. He is not interested in actually hurting Dove, but Dove does not know that. Because she's a rescue kitty. She lived on the street. She lived on the street for a very long time. And so that's one of those things. We can't explain to George here, don't chase her, because she thinks her life is in danger every time you do that, because he doesn't get it. All right, let's talk a little bit about this, because I think I've messed up my measurement stuff over here. So we're going to use this new measurement stick that I just invented, which has meters. That's 5 meters and then 10 meters. So this should be 11 meters wide, right? And that is not, in fact, where we are. All right, we should be to here, which is part of the problem. And part of the reason why we're having a problem with this particular guy. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. And let's talk our tube line. Because even this guy should be 13 meters wide. So Dove was taken. So we have a no-kill shelter that we always go to here called Cat Care Society, and I've actually been going there to Cat Care Society since the 90s. I picked up my first cat from Cat Care Society, Luna, and Luna was a 1-year-old when I got her, and she lived with us up until the kid was born. So she lived with us. She got sick. Her kidneys failed on her in 2011, but I had her since like 1994 through 2011. So she lived a nice, decent, 1997 maybe, but anyway, decent life. So when they brought Dove in, Dove was one of those that the local police brought her in. You know, the animal shelter, or the animal handlers brought her in, and she was pregnant when they brought her in. And so she had a litter of kittens, and they think that was her second litter. So she had already had 2 litters by the time the animal control got a hold of her, and the animal control took her to the shelter. And when we went to go get a cat, because we wanted a cat, we always go to a rescue shelter, and preferably a no-kill rescue shelter. So we went there, and Dove didn't move. She didn't like run away from the kid. And at the time, my kid was 3.5 or 4, probably somewhere in there. So he was loud and bouncing around and all kinds of stuff. And so we figured that she was cool. And so we went on ahead and got her. And what we found out was that she was actually so scared and so terrified that she just froze. And we didn't realize that. We thought she was just being cool with us because she didn't fight us. She didn't argue. She didn't scratch, growl. You know what I mean? She just sat there. And what we later learned was that was mostly because she was terrified out of her gourd. So that was sucky, but we got there ultimately. So George, on the other hand, comes from a litter that was born from one of the cats similar to Dove. So they brought in a pregnant cat, and the cat had the litter in the shelter. And what happened is that means that George here was raised with other humans all the time and was never raised on the street. Whereas Dove had to fight for her life for the first 2-3 years of her life or whatever. And that really affected her personality. So George here is just a pest. But he's like a normal cat, right? Because he doesn't, I mean, he isn't normal because he's George, but he's, he acts the way he acts. He just does his thing, goes on with his life. But Dove, on the other hand, is just terrified. The world terrifies her. Everything terrifies her. And it's a sad thing. Okay, so I'm looking at this. This road should be 13.5. Right? Because because these are 4. Well, no, yeah. Maybe? This is why I was measuring stuff out here. Go down to 44th. And I know that at least really close to my work, 44th is a shared turn lane. Right? Anyway, that's pretty much why we have that. And that's the difference. Yeah, Dove is pretty feral. I didn't capture the thing. the key. Should have captured the key. So, yep, that's the answer, is that she was kind of feral, and she's always been kind of feral. And but she's a good cat, and at night she sleeps with us. As long as humans do not, in fact, become vertical, she's happy. As long as the humans are horizontal, she's perfectly content. She's loving in her own way. But as soon as humans become vertical, they are too scary, and she is gone. So that's the object. That's the object in question. What's going on here? There is no object to transform. Like this object right here? What? How are you not an object? Okay, see you later, Patsy. It was good to have you here for a minute or two. I guess it was selected. It's weird. Oh, behold, 44th is wider when it is in shared turn lane mode, which makes some sense. It's not as wide here. I'm glad you're still here, man. All right. It is slightly wider, but not a lot wider. All right. Yeah, it's 15. 15 and a half. So it's not that much wider, but it is a little wider. Just in case I get this idea that that's 15. Okay, so what we need to do is look at this guy and make him 15 is what needs to happen. Because the real road is 15 and a half. It's part of our problem. And that's a markedly bigger road. And still, the shared turn lane still only one lane wide. Which means that all of our problems are. Oh, part of it is that there's not an extra lane out here. That's part of it. Oh, okay. We actually might be okay. There's no bike lane. That's part of the problem is there's no bike lane and we don't have two lanes. So we are on the right size. Right? Because the shared turn lane's 3 meters. And 3 meters to this side and 3 meters to this side. And then we've got an extra 3 meters on either side, which should be in there, but isn't. And the reason that it's not in there has everything to do with the fact that this is not a 4-lane with a shared turn lane like 44th is. 44th is a 4-lane with a shared turn lane. This is a 2-lane with a shared turn lane. If we were to actually measure from point to point in the middle here, it would still come out at about 10 meters. We really should go find ourselves a 2-lane with a shared turn lane in the center. We really should. So let's go out here. And I think Youngfield's probably a good one. 32nd, I think, is still also. Well, nope. 32nd's a 2-lane with a shared. So that's exactly what we're looking for, right? With a little bit of a bike lane. 32nd works fine for me. And everybody is once again getting a tour of Denver, Colorado, or various parts of Denver anyway. Hope you guys are enjoying it. Probably not, and I really not sure I care a whole lot, but that's okay, you know. Okay. Come over here, and once again, Guy, you managed to not do the thing where you capture the thing, so you can get a measurement on this. And the sun is. No, I'm just. All I need at this moment is just really just the shared turn lane and one lane so that we can get this squared away. Oh, I've covered up the. Oh, man. Boy, I just ask for these troubles, don't I? I just ask for it. Have I managed to actually cover every single... I did. Good job, me. Go me. Now I'll put you over here so I can measure you. And then I will, once again, yeah, all I really need at this moment is just a shared turn lane so that I can see what it looks like on a 2-lane with a shared turn lane, because that's exactly what we just did. We'll deal with 4 lanes with a turn lane, but we don't need to in driving school, right? I mean, because that's really, you need to learn to do a lane change, but you don't need a shared turn lane for that. And then you need to learn to make a shared turn, and you really don't need a 4-lane for that. So all I really need is my shared turn lane. And then five, 10, it's 14 meters across. So they're all slightly different sizes. Everybody's a slightly different size. But it is interesting to note how wide a bike lane is. Because with this being 14 meters, which is right, the bike lane is 2 meters, which I find interesting. Right. Moreover, I think we should also note that the gutters are usually about a half a meter. And that's something that we should also take into account. Just knowing how things work. Which will work. Right? We're doing good. Look at us doing good. Move my ruler over here. And move this ruler over here as well. Uh-oh. Running out of space to put my other ruler. Move this ruler up here. Move this ruler over here. And this way, when I save it, I can save it as a JPEG because it's set as a JPEG. And then if I need to, good morning, Donald, if I need to recover this picture for whatever reason, rather than having to save it as a clip file, which is larger, I'm saving it as a JPEG. But if for whatever reason this crashes, it'll come back as a JPEG, and I just cut out those rulers again and use them again. So all is good. I don't need to worry, but it's still saving it as a very small JPEG, so I don't have to take up a ton of space. Okay, so now we know that this road needs to be 14 meters across. That's fine. So we are at, here's 15. So let's dial it down to halfway between that one there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? We don't need that last one over here. And these are bike lanes, apparently. So, no problem. This is a 2-lane shared turn lane. And this is a bike lane. It's off that side. It's transforming. All this Transformer stuff going on, man. Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't go off the ruler. That's good. I usually always, well, I routinely second guess anything I did the math on, which is one of the reasons why we went through 65 zillion iterations of star maps. Nice. I'm not sure whether that is good or bad, but I'm with the I don't like you getting evicted part. So I'm all on board with whatever does not get you evicted, you know? Which I'm sure you are as well. Oh, hey. Well, that is good. I don't know if Sarge can help you. I don't know what Sarge is doing right now, but he's apparently speaking before Colorado General Assembly right now for something about the VA. And I'm not sure what it is he's talking about today, but he's at the Colorado General Assembly today talking to them. So there's something he's doing on your behalf. There we go. Now that road is correct to 38th, for better or for, or 32nd, for better or for worse. For better or for worse. It's accurate to 32nd. We're almost 2 meters. Enough that I don't think I care enough to be that specific. In fact, I might just do this. Because I'll just make the sidewalks 2 meters, and then that'll be close enough for government work. Oh man, that's brutal. I'm so sorry, man. Like I said, thinking of you, keeping you in my thoughts. You know that I'm not a praying guy, but I can keep thinking of you and worrying about you. Oh, now you don't want to save it that way, huh? There we go. We can do with this. Is indicate that this is where the sidewalk is. No. No, selecting the wrong layer, you need Google. That's you. You're the little goober. Yeah, thanks for going to sleep on my chair. Well, all right, guys, we're at 11 o'clock. I can tell my stomach has just alerted me that it's 11. It alerts me this way by kind of going through this process of saying, hey, are you hungry? I'm hungry. So I will ask you guys, are you guys hungry? Because I'm hungry. We've established where the sidewalks are. Eating time. Which means that I can go on ahead and just do this and this, except that I didn't want that way. But that's okay. Then I'll just add green out here and just say that everything out here to the 2 line mark, green, and everything on this side is also green. We're gonna have to do a couple little things. I'm going to do a 3D, not a 3D model per se, but 3D model-ish of the sidewalk, because the barriers are also about the same height as the sidewalk is. And so I'm going to do that, and then you come here. I'll give you scratches, but you gotta get past the screen there, or not. You can just sit there and be George and say, "Hey, look at my big nose." You have a big nose. You know you have a big nose. Yes, you did. It doesn't really matter. So what we will do is grab George. We love George. We'll grab George because he just, well, we're finishing the show, so this is a good time for George to visit. He's just being George. Him and his Georgeness. His grand Georgeness. So yeah, what we'll do is I'll go on ahead, and that's good because now we have a big enough road that at one lane, with one lane on each side, I can discuss how we make turns into turn lanes and stuff like that, and using a shared turn lane, and it works and all is good. Use that at any time for anything. Nobody really has a problem with shared turn lanes. Oh yeah, we need that. Yeah, because George is also a person who needs to be touched, because he's a touchy person, aren't you? You should. You can almost hear him purring. He's all purry. George is the purry furry. Yes, you're the purry furry. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to go to lunch because lunch. I have not fixed the end credits, so they're still loud, even though I've turned down the volume on the opening credits. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust that. I'm going to try to change the end credits here today so that they will both be fixed, and then we will all be good. In the meantime, I'm heading out of here. I will see you all later. And George is back. George is back. And there's George's butt. Just for you guys. You get George's butt. George butt. So anyway, I'm going to try to talk around George's butt. I will see you guys later. And I will see you tonight, as usual. And as always, keep your eyes on the stars. Goodbye.